All right. Looks like we have a quorum, a couple people continuing to join in, but thanks everyone for joining here. My name is Erica Dorfman. I lead the global financial services team here at Brex. I'm joined by my colleague Ashish Ushal, who leads our enterprise sales team, and our panelists and Brex customers, Tiffany Miller at Orangetheory and Arlene Barbieri at Medicinal Genomics. We're going to spend a few minutes talking about what our vision is here at Brex. And then my colleague Ashish is going to take you through a demo of the product, which is going to be awesome. And then after, we're going to spend some time just talking with our panelists, Tiffany and Arlene, about their experiences at Orangetheory and Medicinal Genomics. And so we'll talk a bit about Brex Empower. Actually, Harriet, if you want to move to the next slide here. Brex's mission is to reimagine the financial systems so that every growing company can realize their full potential. And from the beginning, really, Brex has been focused on creating products that support growing finance teams through expense management. And even our first product, the corporate card, was the first to offer embedded expense management through the card offering. So traditionally, when we think about finance teams, and you all obviously are experts here, but we've had to rely really heavily on process to ensure that spend and policy compliance and approvals happens in the right way. And so while validating expenses and making sure that GL codes are mapped and critical aspects of the financial management process happen, they can also slow down teams and create really bad experiences for everyone involved. And I think most of us have probably been part of some sort of cat herding exercise to get receipts or submit receipts and so on. And so when we were talking with our customers at Brex and also looking at our own internal processes, we knew we needed to make a pretty big upgrade here. So earlier this year, some of you may know this, and we're obviously talking about this today, but we announced the latest addition to Brex's product suite, which is Brex Empower. And with Brex Empower, we've really flipped the script on this, which is we've created a platform that enables trust and discipline at scale to help teams move faster without sacrificing the policy, compliance, and visibility. So Brex Empower really enables companies to move faster and gives finance teams automation around controls and spend to help 10x their company's growth. So when we built Empower, we really wanted to help finance teams delegate work through features like policy visibility, automated expense approval chains, and budgeting to support adherence to spending goals. And you'll see this in the demo that Ashish does. But Brex is really built to support how your employees want and need to spend. So we created a great mobile-first experience for employees and admins, and the ability to spend on card with embedded spend controls and automated receipt capture to support all the receipts that you need to make sure, are there for validation at the end of the day. And because Empower is a single platform, it's built for domestic and global teams and allows you to manage your full team in one place. And for global teams, this means managing spend in over 100 countries on card, bill pay, and with local currency reimbursements as well. If you want to move to the next one. And so really what we see, the result of putting this all together is that the platform on Empower supports the growth that your company needs with speed, easy compliance, and automated processes to help you manage your spend with a lot less overhead and give your team a great experience along the way. So ultimately what we're trying to do is help you all help your team and give that power back to employees to be able to spend where they need to without sacrificing compliance. I'm going to hand it off to Ashish to give you an actual demo of the product.
Thanks, Erica. Really excited to be here. And I know there are a lot of international attendees as well. So really excited to be. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I'm excited to show you the product, but at the same time, even before we go there, Harriet, if you can share the screen and put up the slide where we sum up. Even before we get to the demo, I want to talk about the first principles, but my name is Ashish Uchil. I lead the enterprise sales team, and Empower is one of the first products we launched in the space of financial workflows. And before we get to the demo, I want to talk about the 3 principles on which the product is built. One, we are a single spend and card platform, or single expense and card platform. What it does gives us some superpowers. For example, one of them is auto receipts. We get L2, L3 data from merchants, which I'll show you, and that helps us create receipts on behalf of the users, so you won't have to chase your users for receipts. Second is our product is built on the principle of delegate and empowering spend, because we spoke to about 40, 50 CFOs last year, and all of them told us that they don't need our help to help you save costs, but they need more help in ensuring that the companies can move much faster while keeping the same level of control. So we built the platform to ensure that you can run multiple expense programs like L&D stipend, work from home, stipends across a single card and on a single platform. At the same time, you can delegate your spends to your department heads so that you're not a bottleneck to create that virtual card or create that vendor card for the spend to happen and for your customers to be successful. The last one is we also know that you're investing internationally, or you're adding as many international employees as US employees, and we want the experience for your employee in Singapore or Ireland to be exactly the same, getting paid in local currency, having a local currency card like a US employee gets. So that's the third principle that we are really excited about.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashish. Very, very excited to see that every time. And very excited to introduce again our panelist, Arlene Barbieri, Corporate Financial Controller at Medicinal Genomics. She's spent more than 20 years of experience building out HR, finance infrastructure for international organizations, and has spent the last 8 years in the biotech field supporting the NGS platforms. She's got extensive experience in accounting, tax, and treasury and systems implementations, and we're super lucky to have her here with us today. And then Tiffany is an accounts payable professional with a passion for digital transformation. She's currently the director of accounts payable at Orangetheory, and she's led companies to find the value hiding in their accounts payable departments. She's got 15 years of experience dedicated to digital transformation, implementations, refreshing and retraining teams, process and policy documentation, and consulting. And she currently works, as I mentioned, for Orangetheory Fitness via their parent company, the Empire Portfolio Group. So welcome to Tiffany and Arlene.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Erica. How are you?
Good, good. So Tiffany, if you wouldn't mind kicking us off, can you tell us a bit more about finance at Orangetheory? What changes have you made, and what do you have in your toolkit today?
So I joined Orangetheory and Empire in November of 2021. So just hit my 7-month mark. And when I came in, our entire finance department was handled by a third party. So we have, in the last 7 months, built it from the ground up, and we have implemented an ERP, credit card program, and are still moving forward with other systems that we're all tying back into that as well.
Awesome. So you've been able in 7 months to build all of that out from a third party.
Correct. So we are now handling our accounts payable and finance 100% in-house.
Awesome. And how have you implemented Brex as part of that?
So when I came in, we had multiple credit card programs that were being used. We had Amex, Chase. We were using cash. We had Venmo and Zelle accounts. So you can imagine how difficult it was to track spending and really understand what was going on. When we knew that we needed to implement a credit card solution, we actually originally rolled out Divvy. And that was a partner who was in the same space, but once rolled out, we immediately knew that that was not the right partner. And we had a critical decision to make to either go back to the drawing board or to stick with it and hope it got better. We made the decision to scrap it and start over. And that's when we found Brex, and we haven't looked back. So Brex has been our credit card partner for the last 5 months now, and it has helped us tremendously in being able to do what we've done over the last 7 months.
Awesome. Well, very, very glad to hear that, and we'll dig in a bit more. But Arlene, could you tell us a bit about how that compares to what you guys have built out at Medicinal Genomics?
Sure. So at Medicinal Genomics, it's really a fast-growing company that is now requiring the implementation of more mature, streamlined processes that allow all members of the team to focus on company growth in a fast-growing industry. My job as controller is to identify where these changes can be made, and expense management is one of them. Our team was using personal credit cards and that meant tying up personal credit, and in some cases didn't allow for enough of a limit. Spending an exorbitant amount of time documenting receipts in multiple systems and struggling with an antiquated approval process. This included executive management, our entire sales organization, as well as internal users in the finance team. So really pretty much the entire organization in this one area. So we really needed to focus on a one-stop shop, if you will, a more streamlined whole approach to this process. That's why we chose Brex. Brex has allowed for a seamless integration.
That's great. And this is a question for both of you, but I guess, Arlene, just starting with you, I mean, when you think about how the role of a finance team and the role of a controller has changed over time, what do you think has changed the most?
I really think that as technology advances, reducing costs through new systems while simultaneously increasing the value of the output from the department is required. Nowadays, an effective accounting and finance function is expected to not only track all of the past transactions, but also to provide a vision for how to move forward. And implementing automation and optimizing the efficiency of the accounting and finance function rests on the shoulders of the controller today. And when the department is running efficiently, the time gained needs to be spent on higher, more value-added activities that directly impact both the top and bottom line of the business.
And what about for you guys, Tiffany? I think you're on mute.
Oops, sorry. I think in my experience over the years, I have seen a huge shift in accounts payable, specifically from being a back office data entry function to being a powerhouse of information and data that creates decision making, that creates a decision maker and a stakeholder in AP. So I really feel like the difference has been the technology, and we need the tools to be able to run that information and present it to the C-suite so that they can understand real time what's happening. And that links to, you know, one of the reasons why we really needed Brex was to be able to see real time what's being spent with multiple locations that are swiping a credit card, and we need access to that. So that's the change that I've seen.
And Tiffany, you've rolled out 2 now different programs in the last 7 months. What are some of the learnings from those implementations?
So some of the big takeaways that I have is we were really looking for a partner in this space. There's so much technology available. It's really hard to choose and to understand which one is going to fit your organization until you get into it. But the process that we went through with the other program just showed us very quickly that it wasn't for us. We weren't able to easily roll it out. We weren't able to see what we needed to. The reports weren't working properly. So there was a lot of problems, and also the team wasn't as supportive as we would hoped. Whereas when we moved over to Brex, it felt much more comfortable for me. I also felt like I had a partner in this space where they're more than willing to jump in and work with your end users directly, which was huge for me because we are a one-to-many organization and growing, and there's just not enough time in the day to answer all of the questions that everybody had. So having the Brex team be there and answer those questions and really feel like they were a part of my team was really helpful. Answer those questions and really feel like they were a part of my team was really helpful.
That's awesome. And Arlene, as you guys rolled out your new expense management platform, like any advice that you would give to controllers or other folks who are rolling out new platforms, anything you guys learned along the way?
Well, honestly, I really have to echo everything that Tiffany just said. This is not the first time that I've implemented Brex. I worked for a former biotech company and I implemented Brex at that company as well. Both experiences have been awesome. Obviously, that's why I chose to do it again a second time at Medicinal Genomics. But really, like I said, everything that Tiffany just mentioned, just the service that Brex has provided. I'm a controller. I have many different things on my plate and I just don't have time. Yes, this is a critical implementation, but stopping to answer all of the different questions or even to try to, move the process forward, oversee the process, move it forward. The Brex service team was excellent and setting up weekly meetings, making sure that we were on task. And then if there were issues, questions, or changes, we had those done real time. And it wasn't that, weeks passed again, and then 3 weeks later, I'm trying to catch up and remember, what was outstanding, what needed to be fixed to move this process forward. It was within literally probably not more than 2 days that, any questions or concerns or changes that we needed made were made at that time. And that was really helpful because we were able to really work together as a team to move the process forward. And it was really good for the users of the company too, because when we rolled this out, we told them what the expectations were in terms of the implementation, and we were able to keep to our word to that. So that meant a lot.
That's great. And as you think about, components of your team's processing and also, all the kind of parts for the employees of Medicinal Genomics that you're actually trying to make easier, faster, more streamlined, what are some of the processes and systems that you guys have implemented, maybe alongside Brex or otherwise that have really helped to move the team faster?
Is that question for me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I definitely think that the implementation of Brex has drastically reduced the amount of time we spend on card and finance management. We're able to close the month faster due to the integration with where you work on NetSuite. That's our ERP. It allows us to scale faster in terms of increased efficiencies in these areas, as well as increasing our credit limits as our company grows. Most importantly, its built-in capability to sync our business expense and credit card policies allows us to be compliant.
Awesome. And Tiffany, what about for you guys?
A lot of the same from what Arlene just explained. But one of the things that we were able to do and that we wanted to really do was create incentive programs for our employees and managers at each of our locations. And that is a lot of what we're looking into now and building out, because we're able to manage spend at such a granular level that we're able to now benchmark studios against one another and really understand what it takes and what is the cost for running an efficient studio. And where were we, and putting benchmarks out there and letting people get rewarded when they hit that. So it's really not just a tool for the finance team. It's also given them a way to be able to be recognized for managing their spend and managing their budget. And it allows us to give them ownership. And with that, we just know that we're going to see so much more of them giving back and wanting to participate in other programs that we're rolling out as well.
That's great to hear. And when you think about, any advice that you would give to folks who are looking to streamline, aside from obviously implementing Brex, which we know and love and would love for everyone to implement Brex, but any advice that you would give, Tiffany, for teams that are looking to add streamline, add speed or streamlining to their management process?
Definitely. I think it depends on where the chain where in the chain you are of looking for this. In my role, I talk to the C-suite a lot to really understand what they're looking for out of a system, because that's going to be important. They want reporting, they want real time visual access to what's happening. So that's really important to understand, but also knowing your audience on the other side. So who are your users, and understanding what they're going to ask for, what they need, and also what potentially you might be taking away from them, such as credit card rewards or spending on a personal card or Venmo or whatever they're currently doing. And also just knowing about your industry. Historically, I'm from a financial industry background, so banking, REITs, etc. A very different crowd, much more resistant to change. Here, it's a younger group, so they're very familiar with the technology that we rolled out, and the adoption from our end user perspective was seamless. So really just knowing what you're rolling out to allow yourself to build the time and the energy, and to, you know, really tell the Brex team what you're dealing with as well, because they will help you manage that.
That's great. And Arlene, anything you would add from
Yeah, for sure. For all the reasons that Tiffany just mentioned, I would definitely investigate Brex. I know it seems like a pitch, but I can't speak enough about how this particular choice that I made on behalf of Medicinal Genomics has been received by our company, with praise from our executive management team, mostly from the sales organization, the procurement team, and for sure from the finance team.
We love to hear that. We've gotten a bunch of good questions actually in the chat here. A few were submitted ahead of time, so we're going to go with those as well. But the first is for Tiffany, and it sounds like you were able to get a lot of people at different Orangetheory location on the same place. You mentioned having really easy adoption or great adherence, at least to adoption. Any user issues in going through that, or anything that you guys did as an organization to help speed up adoption and get everyone onto the Brex platform?
Yes, I think our biggest challenge was that we had so many different programs happening simultaneously. It was just a matter of finding what people were doing. So it was a very manual process of reaching out, and being able to replace the card or the process with Brex was in and of itself difficult. The flip side of having a great team that is super excited for new technology is that they will explore it in ways that you have not told them to explore it. So, you know, we did not roll out reimbursements originally with the credit cards, but we noticed some people were submitting reimbursements. So they were very excited and they were exploring the system. So just being very specific when rolling out the product, that it does so much and it's so powerful. So just understanding that, again, knowing your audience and knowing, are they going to be resistant to change and not want to use it, or are they going to really explore and want to use it to its fullest extent?
Awesome. And Arlene, when you think about the evaluation path, one of our attendees wanted to know about, when is it right to make a change to the expense management system, and how do you make that decision, or how do you evaluate that decision?
That's a good question. I knew out of the gate that the amount of time that the finance team, really the whole organization, was spending. I mean, it's more about efficiency and everybody knows that nobody likes to do business expense reports, and nobody likes to be traveling and having to have an envelope with tons of receipts in it. And now you have to come back home after a long trip and sit down and weed through the receipts and fill out a business expense report and submit it, and goes through the approval process. And then it ends up in finance, and they have to once again go through all of the receipts, as does the manager during the approval process. So it's just really more about gaining efficiency with the process. And I think that the best time to do it is now. I don't think that there is a system out there that does it better than Brex. So I would just, probably my advice would be, there's no better time than now to do it.
Awesome. And in doing that transition, you mentioned that there were a lot of different cards that teams were using, that individuals were using, their personal cards as well. How did you deal, and Arlene, if you can take this one first, and then Tiffany would love to get your response as well, but how did you deal with, or how do you deal with even today, folks doing out of policy spend?
Sure. Yep. So the first step during the rollout of the program to our organization was to set the expectations up front. And as part of our implementation and as a prerequisite to obtaining the Brex card, we required all of our employees to read and sign our business expense and credit card policies. And then those policies were uploaded into the Brex portal. And within our policy, we included a clause such as misuses of the card will result in cancellation of the card and withdrawal of corporate credit card privileges. If the card is used for employees' personal or out of policy expenses, the employer reserves the right to recover these monies from the employee cardholders. Cardholders will be required to sign a declaration authorizing the company to recover from their salary any amount incorrectly claimed. I'm happy to report to date, we have not had any issues. We have not had to do that, but I think setting the expectations up front was critical. And then really kind of communicating to the organization, if you do go out of policy and it does become an issue, this is what will happen. So I think everybody kind of knew upfront what the expectations were.
Yeah, ours is a similar, but a little bit different. We've decided to add our spending authority and our T&E policy into our employee handbook, which is signed off on when an employee starts. So for anybody who was already here, that triggered a response from our automated system, which is Paycom. And so everybody upon being hired now has signed off on how they're going to use the credit card if they're going to be issued one ever now or in the future. So that covered us on the expense side. We do have clauses similar to what Arlene read. One of the things that we did find early on is we had one user spend out of policy and we immediately reached out because we're just constantly being alerted of spend that doesn't make sense or that's out of policy or that looks fishy. And what had happened was their Brex virtual card was accidentally made their default spend card in their wallet on their phone. So it was a personal expense that had accidentally charged to their credit card. And within, I think, 3 hours of the expense charging, we were able to get it reversed, get a credit. They had called the vendor, they changed it, and then we rolled out additional information to the rest of the organization to make sure that their personal wallet was not getting mixed up with their virtual cards.
Awesome. That's actually a good segue to another question we have. Did either of you have any pushback from employees, being used to spending on a personal card and wanting to do that and continue to do that even though you were transitioning to Brex, and how did you deal with that?
Sure, I'll take this one. I'll be honest, we were met with lots of resistance from our sales team. They were not happy at first because we were a small growing company and they were able to reap the benefits, the rewards benefits from using their personal card. But at the same time, they also tied up their own personal credit. So what we did was we let them know that we appreciated their feedback, and our CEO pointed out that the decision to migrate to Brex was made by looking through a variety of different lenses: financial impact, operational scalability, compliance, and overall team rewards. And any one of those items alone are enough to justify the switch to the platform. But most importantly, the ability to build a reward system that could benefit top performance in each department. And this solution would also benefit all option equity holders as we drive operational efficiency, working capital improvements, and better compliance with expense policies. And then what we did was we laid out under each one of those umbrellas, under the financial umbrella, operational advantages and rewards for the companies. And when we really laid out the real upsides of using the Brex card, people started to warm up to the idea, and eventually, everybody got on board. So honestly, it was a bit of a challenge at the beginning, but everybody's up and running, and I've gotten nothing but positive feedback.
That's great. Tiffany, what about for Orangetheory?
No pushback, luckily. It was such a mess when we got here that I think everybody was just so thankful to have something that made sense. They didn't really see it from the extent that we did, but they did also know that they had a lot of problems. Their Amex cards would stop working because of certain purchases that they were making that were allowable expenses for our standards, but for some reason Amex was deeming them possible fraud. Same issue was happening with the Chase cards. So just all positive experience on our side with Brex because they just finally got a solution that worked.
Mm-hmm. And when you think about, automating different components of this and actually moving to a solution that does work and kind of enabling that for the employees, and then also obviously for yourselves and your team, what parts of the workflows do you recommend automating, first or really kind of tackling as P0?
I think it depends on your industry and what the need is first. For us, we were starting with nothing, so we've needed everything fast, which I think is part of the beauty of the platform. We were able to roll out a credit card program and solve for employee reimbursements all out of the same platform. Before I joined, they were looking to do reimbursements out of the payroll solution, and the credit cards were all over the place. So I think that it's going to depend on your particular situation, but there are so many options and functionalities and Brex that are there available to you, and you don't have to add them all at once. You can continue to add on when it's right for you. So if rolling out a credit card program and introducing the reimbursements is too much, you can create a program that works for you. And that's what we did. We started with the credit card, and then very quickly after, because of popular demand by the end users, we did reimbursements back to back, but we didn't have that scheduled for another 6 months. Also, the other thing that I've noticed is that when Brex explains that something is in their roadmap, it means that it's coming soon. Historically, when somebody tells me that it's in their roadmap, it could be years to never. So that's always a term that makes me a little bit leery, but everything that I have asked for or inquired about that has been in the roadmap, it has been within the next couple weeks, the next few months, and they're very specific with their timeline on when they know it's coming, and then it's rolled out. I haven't experienced anything being pushed back. So I think that you start with what you need and then you just continue to add on.
Arlene, anything that you have automated either through Brex or otherwise, and when you think about the policies and use of the card in ways that are automating the team, anything you would recommend starting with?
So I guess maybe I'm an all or nothing person for sure. I would recommend automating the entire end-to-end business expense process. And I think for two reasons. One, because in my experience, if we were going to do it, I wanted to dedicate the time and the effort once and go through the whole thing. But second to that, after doing it at two companies now, the customer service and the support that I got from Brex throughout the process made it so easy to do that it wasn't a daunting initiative. And so I would recommend doing the entire end-to-end business expense process. That starts with downloading the Brex app in order to move through the process real time, meaning allowing the card holder to use their card or cards, secure copies of their expense receipts at the time the expense is incurred, upload the receipts to the portal and post a memo regarding the purchase, as Ashish did in the demo. I would also recommend automating the approval process so that the expenses move through the process and are reviewed by the manager in accounting for compliance. And next, we took advantage of linking our chart of accounts to the Brex portal and linked our spend at specific merchants to the chart of accounts. That I found was really powerful. It allowed for the seamless integration of the expenses into the correct general ledger accounts when we imported them into our ERP.
Awesome. And one question that came in as we were talking, any training that you needed to provide the employees at your respective organizations for rolling out Brex?
Well, when we did it, what I did was I put together a short PowerPoint presentation. We had a company meeting. We rolled it out at the company meeting. It kind of was just a high level of, this is what Brex is, this is what Brex can do for you. And then we set up with the Brex customer service team a separate training. And it was, I think, maybe a 30 to 45 minute training. I don't even think it was 45 minutes. I think it was like 30-minute training because it is so easy to use. The tool, and we had everybody from our organization Zoom in and do a training, and it was an interactive training. So not only did the Brex support team, show everybody kind of how to use the card and walk through the platform, but it also allowed the people that were on the call to ask questions. And so it was really a collaborative meeting, and I found that to be really helpful.
We did a decent amount of training, but I think it was very specific to the amount of internal process that we rolled out with Brex. Each one of our locations has 5 or more budgets that are associated and linked to a card or multiple virtual cards. So the way that finance wanted to manage spend and see what was being spent where, we were really able to break that out and control the spend at different levels. So because of our internal process, we did quite a bit of training just so that they would understand exactly what we were looking to find in each budget and each and what their limit was going to be and how that was going to lead into their rewards and all of those things. But in terms of actually using the system, we did very little training. We just wanted to make sure that they were understanding what our expectation was of the multiple budgets at each location.
Makes sense. And last one, and we're going over the 45-minute target, but one last one. Any other pain points that you ran into in terms of your transition to using a system like Brex, and anything you would sort of call out for folks to just be mindful of?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, the only pain point we had, as I mentioned, was the push back related to the loss of points by the sales organization. But other than that, I've received nothing but positive feedback and compliments related to the implementation. I also have to say, again, that the support I received from Brex from the start through even today has been nothing short of stellar, and it's made all the difference. I was able to share freely with them the issue that I was having with the sales organization, and they were more than supportive in setting up the rollout meetings with the users to alleviate their concerns and pointing out the upsides to using the platform that were virtually non-debatable. And again, as a controller, I can't afford to be bogged down with all of the implementation details and tasks. And again, they're setting up the weekly meetings and making sure that the implementation moved forward in a timely manner was really helpful. And I think that's it.
I think our only pain point with the implementation was around our end users over eager attitudes to really want to use it to past the point that we had trained them to at the time. So we really needed to leverage the Brex team to help us reach out and ask them how to prevent people from doing certain things, and is it user related, or is there something that we can do to control that? So we were able to find a solution. Again, in my past, I'm more used to having a more resistant to change type of group, so I wasn't ready for that. But it was definitely something that we were able to figure out And the other pain point that I've had in general with credit card programs and rollout, it's not something I encountered with Brex, but across the board with the underwriting process. And I think sometimes we skip past all of that, especially for me, again, being from banking industries, financial servicing, places where cash flow is not an issue, multi-billion-dollar companies. But coming into the private sector, now there's a little bit more focus on the money that we're spending, and cash flow and underwriting becomes something that's an important part in rolling out a credit card program. And other credit card programs that we were dealing with, and with the one that we rolled out, we're dealing with third-party underwriting teams. And there was a loss of control over what they were able to provide versus what they told us they were going to provide in the preliminary conversations. So coming to Brex was a really great decision for us, because again, we got that partnership. They have an in-house underwriting team, and it makes that preliminary process go really smooth. And sometimes I think we forget to talk about that because we're just talking about the product at the end. But for me, that was a really important process and pain point previously that Brex was able to iron out.
Awesome. Really glad to hear that. Well, thank you both, Tiffany and Arlene, for taking the time to share with us today. We're at around the 45-minute mark, so we'll give everyone the rest of the day back. But thank you to everyone for attending and for asking such great questions along the way. Please email Ashish if you have any additional questions, or feel free to reach out to anyone on the Brex team. We're happy to answer and get you going on Brex. But thanks everyone, and really appreciate you joining.